What's good, Osiris? Middle Mega, you found the channel. It turns out that after all, it's not good to let random Negroes just come through your crib. It's probably not a good thing. I know that's shocking to many of you, but this report here, just stunning to see it, just right there with with the camera right there at the tents at the border in Arizona. I'm gonna start with that, and then we've got a ton of stories. I'll just go until I pretty much go. I kind of like, is it too soon? I was gonna say Dianne Feinstein this thing until I fall asleep. I pretty much go until you see me like kind of not, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to stop the live. It's usually just me and a couple people up in here laughing about something stupid by the end. But so I'm gonna talk about Tucker came out with a new episode, fire as usual, and then I'm gonna start with the border. We'll see. I always have a lot of topics. This is what I have. I'm not gonna get to it all. Carrie Lake's got the announcement coming tomorrow. It is pretty much official. She's running for Senate. That's going to be a celebration. That will be the headliner for tomorrow. Guarantee you that. We are going to talk about the madness going on over in the Middle East, in the Gaza Strip, Israel, and I'm very disappointed at MAGA because MAGA's turned it into their own Ukraine. I don't see much of a difference. I actually see it's a very one-to-one comparison, the way that the NPCs treat Ukraine and support for Ukraine. And if you ask questions about Ukraine, there are many people, and whatever MAGA is, I don't care. Forget about MAGA, whoever's out there that, typically I might align with on many things, are rallying around that Israeli flag, very similar to Ukraine. You ask questions about Israel, and it's like, oh, are you a Hamas supporter? Oh, I'm a Hamas supporter now. Okay. So it's the same. It's exactly the same. You ask questions about Ukraine, oh, you're a Putin supporter. Wait, what? That's not the take. But we'll get there. The border crisis is more important to me. It's pertinent because it's right here at our border. I'm not that far from this. America, meet your new neighbors. This is this is first, most importantly, via Real America's Voice. And just the work that's being done here. Ben Bergquam, if I pronounce his name, I apologize if I mispronounce that. Ben Bergquam, just doing a outstanding job out here. Here's Ben at the border. This is from October 8th. So he's driving through.
All right, guys. Back in Lukeville, Arizona, we broke this story a couple months ago where this had become the new crossing point for illegals. We've had reporters down here for the last couple months. It's been continuous. Just came back down. We've got mostly West African. You have people from India, people from Egypt. But for whatever reason, the cartels have moved a huge number of people to this area out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, all coming through here.
So they're on video showing a bunch of niggas in a tent.
Whatever reason, the cartels have moved a huge number of people to this area out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, all coming through here.
I love how we just openly talk about the cartels. Like it's like they're just it's like the Democrats, the Republicans, the cartels. It just really rolls off the tongue so easily now. Oh, the cartels are, wait, what?
To this area out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, all coming through here.
And when you hear cartels, I hear CIA. So it's military age. You hear a lot of people saying that. Why do you hear people saying that? These are fighting age young men. Hundreds of them in a tent. To be processed and moved on in, to move in as your new fellow Americans. I'm sure they're very 2A friendly. There's a bunch of them there. Are we, is the processing taking too long, fellas? Like, you look bored.
You're welcome to film all you want. Sure.
So they're telling Ben that you can't film here.
Here or on this side.
Yeah, it's a little awkward showing the American government kind of.
Border Patrol, you could tell they're so frustrated. They want this to be reported. So I went up and I was able to get some really close-up footage of these guys. Unfortunately, we had somebody from the national parks come out and tell me that this was a closed off location. Press is not allowed to be as close as I was, so I had to move over here across the road. So apparently only illegals can be on that part of our national park. Almost all fighting age men. They said over 500 today that came through, big day. And they said the new location where people are coming from, and this is shocking to me because I haven't heard this, is Syria. Big numbers coming to Lukeville, Arizona.
Yeah, that's
Syria.
just what we need. So a bunch of Syrians here. Where else are they coming from?
Yeah, at least 150 fighting age men here right now. They said they took the women and children earlier. They prioritized them, but it's bad, guys. It's really bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just really, really bad. Biden did it. Mayorkas did this. They're not doing anything to stop it.
And I'm almost tired of hearing that. We're all doing this. This kind of triggered people when I say this is we. And I want to really focus on this as a we. This is we. We have to own this. We as Americans. Obviously, I know everybody doesn't agree with this and what's happening here. But as a collective group of Americans, this is us. This is the federal government. This is what we support. This is a we. The cognitive dissonance to not want to say we. No. I don't agree. No. I'm saying we as Americans do. And that's the reason why people, so I say we need a secession. Like, we need to talk about, I mean, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but we need to talk about that. The reason why people, part of the reason they're not ready to do that is they already have kind of mentally separated, like, oh, that's them. You mean Arizona? You mean a country in the a state in the union? It's us. That people have already mentally separated, but we're not separated. Now, you gotta, if you want it to be them, then you've got to declare that. That hasn't been declared.
New round of Biden's recruits coming in.
That's a round of our recruits. We own Biden. Yeah, I can talk every day about 2020 being stolen. Who is on the throne? To the victor goes the spoils. Joe Biden is our president. We own him.
New round of Biden's recruits coming in. Yeah, make sure you get your waters, guys. Don't want you to get thirsty.
Yeah. So they're packing them up in the truck.
Make sure we keep those bags.
Packing bags in the truck.
Concierge service.
And they get a van. Getting vanned up out of there.
One van down. Here comes your new neighbors, America.
Oh, what could go wrong?
All right, they're loading those vans up. They're taking them to the Ajo Border Patrol station to process them. That means Border Patrol's not on the line out here to the west or out to the east, which allows the cartels to do everything else they want. I'm gonna head down to where they're coming across and see if we have any more groups coming or if we can get any more intel on what they're leaving behind. Law and Border, sponsored in part by Patriot Mobile. Use promo code RAV.
I want to play the promos on this because these are brave companies. I don't have the occasion to use a satellite phone or whatever for secrecy or something like that, but these are brave companies. So I want to not only play it, highlight companies that are supporting Real America's voice and Ben being able to, it takes money to be able to do this work here.
Behind. Law and Border, sponsored in part by Patriot Mobile. Use promo code RAV for free activation. And our other sponsor, the satellite phone store, ravsat.com, guys. Support the companies that support the values you believe in. These guys do because they support us. PatriotMobile.com, promo code RAV, and satellite phone store, ravsat.com.
And he's done great work. I noticed him during the Arizona gubernatorial race, and ever since then, been following him very closely. He's been doing one of the best border guys out there. He's all over the place. Seems like he's everywhere. I don't know how these people. He's probably on a plane right now. America, meet your new neighbors. Let me read Metalopoly. Always just call him Base Metalopoly. Metalopoly says surprise. It says Rome fell only after massive inflation and after they allowed the barbarians to immigrate there. No correlation with the U.S. and Rome, or is there? Pretty much. The melting pot is melting. And I think our melting pot is melting in part because we lost track of what really was the strength. Being a melting pot was not the strength. The strength was the culture and values of this country and being able to fit other people escaping or trying to make the best out of their lives to come here into that culture. That was the strength. The strength wasn't a melting pot. That doesn't even make any sense. You take all the colors in your paint palette and you mix them together, you're going to get this muddy, ugly mix, color that doesn't mean anything. The strength of diversity is having people from different areas with different backgrounds coming to America and understanding why this culture is so good or why it would be good for them or better than what they're fleeing, so they would adapt what we do. I have said it a lot of times on the channel, my parents are Jamaican, and that's how I feel. I feel like they moved here, adopted, assimilated into Western culture, and raised to appreciate it, to be grateful of it, not to look at it as some type of evil thing. So we've been manipulated to think that our strength is our weakness, and then now the weakness is the strength. We're not a melting pot of just random niggas. That doesn't make sense. And sometimes, and right now, men need to step up, because I don't mean this disrespectfully. Women have different strengths. I think women are more in touch with just generally speaking, that's not always the case. Women are more in touch with their emotions and looking at that side of things. A lot of times men are more into safety. This is, damn your emotions. This is a safety issue, fundamentally. If you don't agree with that, you don't acknowledge that, you are a danger to the country. You are a danger to me. You're a danger to everyone. I can't believe we even have to spell that out. This is not a welcoming introduction to a community gathering. It's a chilling statement from Ben Bergquam, a reporter for Real America's Voice News about the situation at the U.S. Mexico border. Bergquam's recent report from Lukeville, Arizona, paints a dire picture of national security. This is written by me, or ChatGPT, middlemaga.com, just basing it off the video. So what I did is I took the transcript of the video, put it into AI, then said summarize it, then gave it my opinions. I said, put this together. The influx of migrants, I missed that. I don't like that word. Illegal aliens from various countries, including Syria. I don't know what happened there. The situation at Lukeville, Arizona transcends immigration policy. It's a ticking time bomb for national security. The influx of fighting age men. I'm getting to be an old guy now. I'm getting to be over my mid-40s. These young guys, These are fighting age young. These are guys that you've got to watch out for when you look at what's happening across the world. With known security risk demands immediate attention. As you saw, at least 150 fighting age men here right now, Bergquam reports. According to federal statistics, Lukeville has become the busiest point of illegal entry into the country, with 1,300 people a day crossing into the U.S. this area. This diversification of origins amplifies the security risks, so they can just move it around. Oh, there's a lot of tension. The block is hot here. We can go over here and do it now. As it becomes increasingly difficult to vet individuals and assess potential threats, Border Patrol agents, despite their best efforts, are ill-equipped to handle this surge alone. As you heard, Border Patrol, you could tell they're frustrated. They want this to be recorded. Last month, and that's what I think he was kind of hinting at. The Border Patrol knew somebody shouldn't have been there. It was the park. It looked like it was like a park. I don't know if it's a ranger or what. He said somebody from the park came through. He did not say that the Border Patrol told him to leave. I find that interesting. So Border Patrol's like, if this might help, then maybe I'll have them come out. We're seeing even more stuff, and other adult men are noticing adult men coming through at a very high rate, and it's concerning adult men. I don't know about adult women. Let the men handle this one. No disrespect. I'm not even joking on that. That's not to be disrespectful. Let the men handle this one. That's not acceptable. Just a sea of dudes. This is a different video. This one is massive groups of adult men in caps are waiting to be processed by Border Patrol. We are letting strangers stroll free into our country. Does anyone actually think it's a good idea to keep our borders open right now? I mean, it's just never a good idea. You never sell me on it being a good idea. Last month, 42,000 plus. I'm upset because I remember distinctly telling it, wherever you see migrants, stop that. Illegal aliens were encountered at the Tucson Border Patrol sector, which includes Lukeville, massive jump from the 27,000 encounters in June. They are the last line of defense against a complex array of challenges that include human trafficking, drug smuggling, and emerging national security threats. Yet they're often pulled away from their posts to process new arrivals, leaving vast stretches of the border unguarded. This operational gap provides cartels and other illicit actors the opportunity to exploit the situation further, exacerbating the crisis. That moment where he's like, it's bad, guys, that was a moment of, he was just, because he's seen it a lot. So he probably needs to, take that moment to just have that sigh of relief. I believe it's right here.
It's bad, guys.
He's like, it's bad, guys. I'm like, that's a moment of honesty.
This is big numbers coming to Lukeville, Arizona from Syria. At least 150 fighting age men here right now. They said they took the women and children earlier. They prioritized them, but it's bad, guys. It's really bad.
He had to pause for a second.
There's no other way to put it. It's just really, really bad. Biden did it. Mayorkas did this. They're not doing anything to stop it. New round of Biden's recruits.
So there's the border. I don't know. Let's fix that. I don't know what needs to be done, but let's kind of address that. I said that we were talking about the border and stuff, and I was like, and they were like, build a wall. I was like, build a wall? Where are the water hoses and pit bulls? I need that in the budget before we do any more money, put some more money in that slot machine of the Iron Dome, or Zelensky. I'm sure he's probably going to be on the block on the Ave with his skirt up high, asking for another, wearing stilettos, asking for another $2 bill or something like that. Can I get a re-up? Nah, nigga, you can't get no more re-ups. That's what we need to say. I'm not going to get too much into it, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. officially announced that he's running independent, and my official stance on that is great. I don't the more the merrier. I don't care who that helps or help. I mean, we can talk about who it helps or not, but that's irrelevant to my take on somebody stepping up and running for president. That's doing more than I'm doing. That's putting yourself out there, your life on the line potentially. So I fully support that. Dr. Cornel West, especially if he's not going to talk about race, I'm really happy to see him run. But I haven't watched him recently. I'm sure he's going to get into that marginalized alphabet soup of LGBTQ and stuff. But I fully, even if when he does that, I fully support that. I want more competition. Could you imagine if you had Carrie Lake versus Trump versus Matt Gaetz versus, that would be, let's do it. Let's have a battle royale. I think the best ideas will come out of that. So I'm all for it. I did hear something though that was odd to me. Is RFK speaking at CPAC? Somebody confirm that for me? I've had a dream. I think it was a nightmare or something that RFK Jr. was invited to speak at CPAC. There's no way that would have happened, right? I'm just a little goofball here. I'm just a little goofball here in my basement. Don't pay any attention to me. Wait, what? The Guardian has an article here, and it's titled RFK Jr. announced as speaker at hard right CPAC event. Well, CPAC is hardly hard right, but when you look at some of the most epic moments of CPAC, and do you get it now why young Nick Fuentes started AFPAC, or are you still not getting it yet? Again, I have no problem with Robert. If he wants to speak at CPAC, then I don't know, run as a Republican then. Why would it's CPAC. Why would a conservative political action group invite Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to speak at their event? Well, shouldn't you bring in DeSantis and Trump, and even though I don't like these empty shills, and Tucker Carlson's going to go ham on them in a second in the clip I'm going to show you, Nikki Haley and that's who Vivek, and that's who you would invite to CPAC, is what I would think. I don't know. Is that an outrageous take now? No. The CPAC is inviting RFK Jr., he of climate justice warrior fame, he of racial justice, LGBTQ justice warrior. I guess that fits with CPAC now, but of that fame, and Trump's kind of right there too. So I guess he fits right in. Maybe I should just retake my whole take on this segment, because maybe he does fit right in at the end of the day. But what my problem is, so he's running, and now people are doing the math, and people are saying, well, does this help or hurt Trump? And I honestly don't know. It doesn't matter. I think it's good that he's running. But then why would CPAC invite him to the event? That surely doesn't help Trump. If you wanted to invite him to the debate, I would have said, hey, you run as a Republican. I would want him at the debate. Run as a Republican, come to the debate. If you want to run as a Republican. So you would have him up against Trump, heads up. So right now he's getting the benefit of running as an independent. Still, we all know he's really a Democrat. He's just a sore Democrat. He doesn't even go DEFCON on him. He's very, very kind in his criticism of him. He's just a butthurt Democrat. So now he's going to go independent. He's not a real independent. He's a Democrat, authoritarian leftist, emotional leftist. I've covered him on the channel before because a lot of people like him. I'm not against you if you like him. I just don't buy into it. For example, Ukraine. He talks about, well, I want peace in Ukraine. Okay, great. Bobby, what if they don't want peace in Ukraine? Are you willing to stop weapons and money to Ukraine? He has never said that he is willing to do that. I believe Vivek might have. I lose track because their takes keep evolving. So I apologize. The last time I did it, Vivek had not said that, but I think since then he might have. So Vivek might be the most base on Ukraine now, more than Trump even. Before I said Trump was the most base, even though he's for weapons to Ukraine, but he was like, Europe has to pay their way. No other, I don't know why, no other candidate says that to my knowledge. Again, I have to check Vivek. He's the only other one that would say anything like that. But so Trump had a better take there, and his reasoning for the weapons is more of a strength to get Putin to fall back down. So I'm not saying Trump has a great take on Ukraine, but I'm saying that he's better than Kennedy on Ukraine. That's for sure. See, here he is again. I'm just using Ukraine as a big problem with me and the Libertarian Party cozying up to this bruh. And I really did not like that. Really, really did not like that. If you want to talk about the pandemic, great. The book's great. He's great on the pandemic. He doesn't have many solutions. He's just good at identifying the problem. And I got to go back through the real Anthony Fauci. Maybe I missed it and I just don't remember it. It's been a while since I went through that book. I don't remember many solutions in the book. It's a hell of a detailing of the problem going back to Reagan and, well, he didn't mention Reagan, but Fauci under Reagan and AIDS and the problems leading up into the pandemic, which when you look at how you lay it out and the conflicts of interest, it's like, how could the pandemic have gone any other way? But his take on Ukraine, he wants to have it both ways. I'm for peace, but he would still send the weapons. The thing he said about the weapons is that people supported it for the wrong reasons, and he does talk about the government corruption and using Ukraine, but at the end of the day, he's still for the weapons. And what Zelensky and Ukraine, they're warmongering drug addicts. And if you're going to pay for their addiction, they're going to do their addiction. They're going to do it. So if you don't say, we're cutting you off if you don't make a deal by this time internally, if you want to do it, then they're going to keep on using the money for them to buy whatever Cadillacs or Model X's or whatever the hell they're buying over there. I'm sure not with the money that we're sending over there. It's probably with some other money. Keith Word. What's up? So Poodles. Vivek came out of nowhere saying all the right things. He is tied to big pharma. I still have not fully unpacked all of that. I've played some of those clips with Vivek, and I still go by what people are saying. I'm not as hard against Vivek as other people are. I don't think he's full. I don't think the big pharma thing was, that's the one that I haven't heard him explain as well as some of the other ones, but he's been on many shows. So that's a failure. That's a failure on my part to not go in depth with Vivek and that. That is a failure on my part. I should be deep diving into that. I just haven't. No, I just haven't been passionate about deep diving into that in particular. Brendan Dilley is a general in the cultural wars. Basically the war that we're in right now. And he had a take, and I agree with him 100%. And this is a leader. I like leadership type of stuff here. He came out and had a take on RFK. And so you can tell that Brendan Dilley is concerned about this RFK stuff being a Democratic strategy to push him away to independent and potentially take votes away from Trump. Because if he had stayed Democrat, he's not taking any votes away from Trump. He's not winning that primary. So that's where Brendan Dilley is coming from on this one. And I have a lot to say about it. Brendan has a lot to say about it too. Let's hear from the general of the meme team. He said, this raspy radical cuck isn't your friend. He doesn't help Trump, and he sure as shit shouldn't be anywhere near a Trump administration. He's Bernie Sanders with a more famous last name. Interesting. He went ham on him.
At hotels and malls on the street, and they remind me that this country is ready for a history-making change. They are ready to reclaim their freedom, their independence. And
I saw that and I thought, is that an assassin?
And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate.
You see how where Brendan is going, everything, I might come across as some kind of, sycophant lunatic saying this. That's why I hesitate. Like, do you really want to say this? Yeah, I do want to say this. It feels like damn near every single piece of madness that's happening in the world is an anti-Trump position. It seems like that. I could pick most, I mean, not everything, but pick a lot of this madness that we talk about. And even though Trump's not even the topic, it seems like, damn, if that happens, that could hurt Trump. Oh, damn. Shinzo Abe got offed. Oh, he was cool with Trump. Benjamin Netanyahu. Oops, I didn't know anything was happening. And my intelligence, well, he didn't say this, but obviously his intelligence failed him. Oops, that means he's going to have to be gone. Maybe I'm off on this. I don't see, some people said that this would make him stronger, the Hamas war. I think he's done. Could you imagine a president allowing people run up in their country and you've got the best surveillance, you've got the best spy agency, you live in a hot box, so you always have to stay ready at the border 24/7. It could pop off any moment, especially around the holiday. And you didn't know and took IDF 3 hours to get there? He's gone. After all the shock and awe, he's going to get kicked up out of there. And my point was, he was Trump friendly. So you look at it, it's like, damn. Everybody, the Michigan 16, the 19 in Georgia, J6ers, just pick something. BLM, their number one goal was to remove Trump and prevent him from running for office. Pick some madness that's happening in the country right now. It's anti-Trump. And Brendan's like, I see more anti-Trump stuff. I don't know for sure. I don't really have a take on does he hurt Trump or not. I can't tell. I don't know. It's possible for sure. I think it's like a 50-50 thing. I don't know how much, because he's portrayed himself as an anti-establishment candidate, I think. And he's way better than Trump on the pandemic. So that could be dangerous for Trump, and you could see how he's working. News on X, just randomly, since I just happened to pop on it, you can now limit your replies to verified users. And that's something to think about. If you're monetized on the X platform, you only get monetized through ads popping up from verified users. Now, I don't know if that benefits you to lock it up to verified users, because maybe non-verified users could help boost it somehow to other verified users. I don't lock anything. I'm not locking anything, but it's a new thing that's out there that Elon Musk was testing out just today. You can now lock it. I'm trying to think about what's the play here. It's the First Amendment, so it matters. Who can reply? Verified accounts. This is probably more for your larger accounts that they don't need to see people who are unverified. They only maybe want to see the verified people reply. And those are the only ones they're making money out of anyway. So I'm just looking to see. Yeah. So this is the thread. X limited this thread. No, they didn't limit. I don't see a limit on this thread. But you can limit your posts now to verified users. Who can reply? Verified. To be verified on X is believe it's $8 a month, depending on how you pay for it. The App Store, I think, is a little bit more because they charge, but $8 a month. A lot of changes slowly coming. That's the way you do it. You roll out a change slowly, and any option is a good option. Another thing on X I wanted to just kind of rant about was there are stories and there's discussion out there about misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. I don't even know what these things mean anymore. Regarding the Israel-Hamas war. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable cost of trying to find information that you can't find elsewhere, is that you are going to stumble upon information that is inaccurate. I have no problem with that. I've been tricked multiple times. If I find out it's inaccurate, I don't think I've posted them on YouTube because I usually find out on Twitter before I post on YouTube. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've been tricked on and put it on YouTube or Rumble. But then I'd just say, hey, I got tricked. My bad. This is the real. I usually link, this is the real thing, proof that it's not real, and then keep it moving. It's not the end of the world. Twitter is pretty fast paced. So you can get caught up on it. No excuse. I don't want it to happen very often, but you can get caught up going fast paced and like, oh, wait, when did that happen? Oh, wait, who is that? Who verified this? It is an acceptable cost for finding information that you cannot find through Google, that you cannot find when you take your remote and turn on a TV. My problem is centralized control. Why does X have control over reputation? So if I go to an account, and I see that they're posting something, and this is a very common thing on X now. So Muslims are big in the news. So you post a bunch of Muslims doing something and it's a video from 2016. Maybe it's still relevant. That doesn't mean it's irrelevant, but you don't know the context behind it. And people post it and then they know people might mistake it for something that happened yesterday. So when that happens, I want to be able to have the ability to label that user with my own reputation score. And I should be able to share with Metalopoly, what's your reputation score on this person? Or I could go on Twitter and say, let me use Twitter and not even the algorithm. Let me use Twitter using the reputation rating of Metalopoly or Keith on it, gated community. Keith Ward, I can say, hey, let me use your recommended reputation score. Right now, X has a reputation score, but they rank it on whatever they want to rank it on. Right now, if you are, believe it or not, if you reply to an account with more, that follows more people than follow them, then that hurts you in your reputation score, believe it or not. I couldn't care less. I go by ideas. Is this person posting an idea that I want to reply to? But that's what, I mean, they have random stuff like that that should not, for me, would not affect their reputation score. So I should be able to rank people's reputation. And what that would do is it would force people to hesitate. Right now, there's no counterbalance. They're trying to use community notes. Community notes is a complete disaster and a complete fail. I've gone away from community notes. I did think it was good at first, but we knew that it was always going to trend towards this fact-checking, ridiculous nonsense flag. That's their check and balance. That's not good enough. I need a check and balance on any account. They only do really community notes on tweets that blow up viral, millions of views. And then I would be able to say, and then if that would check people like, whoa, if I post this without context, then guess what? A lot of people are going to individually make the choice to downrank me in reputation, and then I don't get as many views. It's that simple. It's really populism. The power should be in the hand of the people. So for more options, I think that's always a good thing. Joe Farmer says posting is just farting in the wind. Yeah, I think it is, but it's no different than writing an article. There's no, and what's the fundamental difference between posting a paragraph on X or even a sentence and writing an article? I don't think there's much of a difference. So it means something. People, there have been powerful writers. There's been powerful books that have been able to move people, that reach people. For me, it does help get the thoughts out there. Then I just kind of use it as notes for the show. So that's, and that's where a lot of, a lot of the tweets I look at are bookmarked and stuff. I mean, you can tell it's creators who are looking at it and bookmarking it. Probably the greatest creator of our current generation and someone who really, quite frankly, should be running for president. I don't know why he went. Well, because Trump's there. But once Trump's out the picture, you'll see him run for president, I hope, or become vice president under Trump, which I think is very much a possibility. That's just me. Is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson proceeded to rip a bunch of people a new asshole.
Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
This was an attack on America, she says, when in fact it was not. And for that reason, we must, quote, finish Iran, a nation of nearly 90 million people. What are we watching here? This is not sober leadership. She's a child, and this is the tantrum of a child. Ignorant, cocksure, bloodthirsty. Yet no one in Washington scolded her for it. In fact, they aped her hysteria. Here's fellow neocon Lindsey Graham just spelling it out and calling for the bombing of Iran.
So I've been on the phone all day to the Mideast, and I've told our allies and people with connections to Iran, what I would do, I would tell Iran that if Hezbollah attacks Israel, we're going to come after you, the Iranians, and have a coordinated effort between the United States and Israel to put Iran out of the oil business by destroying their refineries. There are 4 major refineries in Iran. They're fixed targets. If Hezbollah attacks Israel, I would make Iran pay a heavy price.
What exactly would happen to the United States if we declared war on Iran and started blowing up their infrastructure? Lindsey Graham has no clue what would happen. He hasn't thought it through. He's almost 70 years old and he has no children. He doesn't care. But neither, amazingly, do most of his colleagues in Washington. They're as reckless as he is. Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw took to social media to call for what he described as a war to end all wars, as if there is such a thing. But of course, there isn't such a thing. Wars beget more war. The bigger the conflict, the uglier and longer lasting the consequences. See World War I for details. These are not complex observations, but they seem lost on our leadership class.
He just called them all incompetent fools. Did Nikki Haley say finish him?
Finish them. Hamas did this. You know.
Nikki Haley went Mortal Kombat. She went straight up like, this is Mortal Kombat. I used to go to the arcades back in the original. I remember when the original Mortal, that's how old I am. Not on, I don't even know what's, I think they did later on come out on Genesis and stuff, but not on PlayStation. I'm talking about the arcades when it was like the top-notch graphics and you saw all the different finishing moves from Scorpion to what's his name, Kato, and they pull in and he grabbed the heart, and that was Sub-Zero, I believe. I believe it was Sub-Zero. No, I forget who it was who had the finishing move where he put his hand in his chest, grabbed, maybe it was Cage, and grabbed the heart and then put the heart up in there and it was beating. Mortal Kombat, they'd be like, finish him. It's a lot of the great sound bites. Nikki Haley, she's going old school.
Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
This was an attack on America, she says, when in fact it was not. And for that reason, we must, quote, finish Iran, a nation of nearly 90 million people. What are we watching here? This is not sober leadership. She's a child, and this is the tantrum of a child. Ignorant, cocksure, bloodthirsty. Yet no one in Washington.
I said these neocons are taking me back. They're taking me back to the 90s, the 2000s, when life was more simple back then. You know why it was more simple? Because me, myself, and many others were apathetic, ignorant, blue-pilled, didn't know what the hell was going on. So then you had unity. So when these corrupt neocons stood up and said, we've got to hate, basically their take was, we've got to hate the Muslims. Everybody was like, yeah, I think we should. And that was the 90s. I was like, I almost want to put on some Biggie or Pac or Craig Mack or something to remind me of back in the day, man. These they're taking me back. This is how the neocons would roll. John McCain would be so proud of y'all. He wouldn't know what to do.
Fatality. Fight.
Nikki Haley.
Finish her.
Nikki Haley's like, this is taking me back to the 90s arcade. Finish him. Finish her was I don't think they had finish her in the first one. It was finish. Even I don't know if they had a woman in the first one. Can't remember. I think they had that one woman, but I forget the name of all the characters.
Finish them. Hamas. Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what. Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
This was an attack.
Impressive.
I like. Remember, Sub-Zero wins. Babality.
Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
This was an.
This is what I needed. I need that evil villain laugh. I need that evil. This is Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is going to be like, finish him. Like, are you grabbing a gun? Like, are you going to be a part of this? Or is it like everybody else's life that's on the line? How many lives need to be finished over this? We can segue into that. I have some big problems with some of these takes. Before I do that, I put this up here. Joe Farmer, sorry, I don't have my glasses, so I'm squinting. Joe Farmer said, most comments change nothing. It's hard to, how do you judge the impact of your change? So maybe somebody you never knew, you might have posted one thing on Twitter and one random person saw it and it changed their perspective. Not that everything has to change somebody's perspective, but since you're bringing up change, because I'm not really looking at the goal of changing people's perspective, I'm trying to get out there in the philosophical ether. But if you want to talk about change, it's hard to, how do you really measure that? But the problem with it, Joe, the problem with it is that it's all controlled by big tech. That's the big problem. If it wasn't controlled by big tech, it would be way more powerful than corporate media. Right now, corporate media is more powerful than big tech. Without question. Like, what do you think about Joe Biden and the corruption? It's not getting anywhere. What happened to the Twitter files? Not getting anywhere. A lot of the stuff that's big online gets absolute. People think that Elon Musk retweeting something breaks through. No, it doesn't. The stuff that Elon Musk is tweeting is not breaking through. The corporate media has more power. If you want to reach normies, if you want to, it still has that stigma of credibility. That's why they're hanging on to it. And I think that's a big part of it. We had let's just say a spirited discussion. I've had a spirited discussion all day on the issues and things going on overseas. And it reminds me of the discussion about race. I am not a geopolitical dude. I'm not a dude who enjoys talking about geopolitics. I don't give a damn about Israel. I don't give a damn about a Palestine, the Gaza Strip. I don't give a damn about Jordan and Egypt and Syria and Lebanon and Hezbollah and who else is over there? Iran, Iraq. I don't give a damn. Ukraine. Right? I don't give a damn about none of them at all. Not even a little bit. But in order to have this discussion, I've got to kind of dip my toe or maybe my knee or maybe my waist or maybe just jump all the way into that discussion to be able to handle it. Just like the race stuff, I talk about race a lot, and you might think, well, yeah, you might think I'm an identitarian or in a way or anti-identitarian. There's no way to have the discussion without jumping in and getting in the mud. To my knowledge, I don't know how to have the discussion without getting into the mud, and I understand that's kind of what they want, but it's the same here. I'm not really. You've got to know about it. Don't get me wrong. Just I want my country to be aware of what's going on and make friends and use money in a way that's not giving money to another country, but that is beneficial, protectionist. But I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not passionate about geopolitics. But if we have to get into it, let's get into it. And that's kind of where I am with the Israel thing. I am really disappointed in MAGA. Very disappointed in MAGA. Donald Trump gets on a stage and Donald Trump says, I stand with Israel. And my question is why? I'm not done with this. I did this on the other live. I'm doing it again. I am only married to the best answer. Tell me in the chat why. What does let's just forget about what it means, because I don't even know what that means. I stand by. I have no idea what that means. Because you've got people, common people. If you're going to stand by the common citizen, separating them from the government, which is perfectly fine to do, then good. But then do you stand with the slaves in the Congo that made the devices that I'm using to broadcast to you right now? Do you stand with the people in Ethiopia? Do you stand with the people in Somalia? There's travesties and misdeeds and missteps, Sudan, going on all over the world. A lot of them in Africa, unfortunately. Venezuela, that's why they're coming up here. Do you stand with those common citizens too? Because I don't hear much of that. So then now my next question is, why do I need to stand with them more than any other common citizen? Whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Russia, stand with the common citizen of Ukraine. I stand with the common citizen of Russia. I stand with the common citizen of Sudan. I stand with the common citizen of Israel. I stand with the common citizen of, if you want, some people don't like using the word Palestine because they don't think it's a real thing, whatever. I'm not getting into that debate. Wherever they are is a real place. I stand by those citizens too. So I don't know what I don't understand what the take is. I stand by Israel. I don't understand the take. Other than it's your own version of the Ukraine. So you are, and so a lot of people that I probably considered MAGA, not a lot, but some, have found their own special Ukraine. What's the difference? And I have a fair question. Why should I stand with Israel? What does that mean? Israel has given me no reason to stand with them. They are one of the most spy-happy, focused on surveillance nations in the world. And I understand why. They're in the hot box. They're surrounded by, really, family. They're all Semites. You know, the word anti-Semitic is just another one of those funny words that I always ask, well, what does that mean? So if you are talking bad about Palestinian citizens or just people in the Gaza Strip, I don't know what you want to call them if you don't believe in Palestine. If you're talking poorly about them, then isn't that anti-Semitism? Because they're Semites. So I don't even know what these terms mean. They don't have any functional meaning other than I have the power to label people as such. But if you're looking at that area out there, Israel has given me no reason to support Israel. So Donald Trump, please explain to me why I need to stand with Israel. Ron DeSantis, please explain to me why I need to stand with Israel. I'm looking for help in the chat. This is this is not a rhetorical question. What is the reason? I haven't heard it. I'm looking for it. I can give you plenty of reasons not to stand with them. Israel's probably spying on this video right now. I'm not even joking. We did the topic where they literally had a spy in a Twitter space, and some random dude called the spy out and like, aren't you a spy? And then they rage quit. Not one of their better spies, but Israel is probably spying on me right now. No lie. They might be the most sophisticated spy agency on the planet because of where they're located. They are in a hot box. They've got enemies on all fronts, on all sides. They've got, well, I don't know if you want to call Egypt an enemy, but they've got Egypt down there. They've got Jordan. They've got Syria. They've got Lebanon. Who else is over there? And then they've got Hamas coming through and Iran funding them. So they've got enemies everywhere. They've got to be, they have to have every part of their country monitored closely 24/7, especially during a holiday. I forget which holiday it was, but there was a holiday, and they like to do strikes on the holiday. Their enemies on Jewish holidays. So you should have been on high alert. They're the most sophisticated spy agency on the planet. They bring that technology here. The technology that's being used on X to verify users if you want to upload your driver's license, that's only for people, I believe, who are verifying and paying for the app. But at some point, it's going to be for everyone, and then you don't have to do it that way, but then it'll be required. That's where this stuff goes. The company handling that data is an Israeli company. And now, are they doing anything nefarious with it? I don't know. But Israel's always up in the mix. I am sick and tired of their tacit support of groups like the ADL. That is not a benefit to me. They are not an ally to me. There is no reason for me to be an ally to them. That's just business. If you want that to change, then you change your approach. You could very, very easily be an ally to me if you wanted to be. If you wanted to. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And that's where they are now. Jonathan Greenblatt was on MSNBC. And it is alarming. I did find it off-putting and a little bit, the stance of MSNBC on Israel that some have on there has been very controversial. Even I think it's controversial. And I side more with the populist left on this in a way, because I don't side with Palestine. But I do agree with them that Israel's retaliation, killing innocent women and children, is not what you want to do. It's not acceptable. I'm not okay with it. If you had Mexico bombing the U.S., I'm not okay with the U.S. carpet bombing Mexico and wiping out innocent women, children, family, innocent citizens of whatever gender. That's not kosher for me. If it is for you, I don't blame you, but please don't come at me. Like, that's the problem. I'm like, okay, if that's your take, fine. But don't come at me like I'm some lunatic. But here's what Israel supports.
Tell us, if you will, just what these last few days have been like for you and why it's so important that you are appearing here today with the Reverend Sharpton.
Well, so I will be honest and maybe a little more vulnerable than I normally would be. These have been some of the hardest days of my adult life. I don't ever remember a moment like this. I have family in Israel right now under siege and being deployed to the front lines. I have staff who can't locate their family. I have friends who are gone. And I think Ambassador Danone put it well in a context that Americans can understand. 9/11, the evil that was perpetrated here. But the scale, Jonathan, the right comparison is Nagasaki. This was like an atomic bomb. And as 40,000 people were killed in Japan when they dropped that bomb in Nagasaki, so too were the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people who were.
Wait, what? What is happening right here? This is like saying the lives of Israelis, one Israeli life is worth about 100,000 or 400,000 or 4,000 of somebody else's, depending on which country you're talking about in the world. What happened here is tragic. Why are we doing a ratio of Israeli death worth to
here,
the bomb dropped on Nagasaki?
but the scale, Jonathan, the right comparison is Nagasaki. This was like an atomic bomb. And as 40,000 people were killed in Japan when they dropped that bomb on Nagasaki, so too were the hundreds upon hundreds of people who were killed in Israel. And so while I am...
What?
When they dropped that bomb on Nagasaki, so too were the bomb. And as 40,000 people were killed in Japan when they dropped that bomb...
He just compared 40,000 people killed in Japan to hundreds in Israel. Why is that?
Nagasaki, so too were the hundreds upon hundreds of people who were killed in Israel. And
you know why he's doing that? It's because he's using their dead bodies to leverage power in my country. You are not an ally of mine. This is not somebody who's genuine. There's tragedies all over the world, and what he's saying is, this is the one you care about. You don't tell me what I care about, sir. I care about the border. I care about free speech. You don't care about any issue that I care about. Not a one.
so while I am sad and trying to cope, I'll be honest, I am angry. I am angry with the world that allowed the dehumanization of Israelis and sanitized the terrorism of Hamas. I must say, I love this show and I love this network, but I've got to ask, who is writing the scripts? Hamas, the people who did this, they are not fighters, Jonathan. They are not.
This is a struggle session. He came on MSNBC to do a struggle session, and MSNBC probably had him on to go after, I forget the dude's name. He's very Palestinian, I guess, friendly. I don't know how to phrase it, so I apologize if that's inaccurate, but that's the impression that people get. And that's the impression I got too. But I think they probably brought this dude on as he's the one that's going to get you under control, not us.
Hamas, the people who did this, they are not fighters, Jonathan. They are not militants, and I'm looking right at the camera. They are terrorists. It is a barbarian who rapes and brutalizes women, who kills children in front of their parents, and then brings them over to Gaza, who literally, we've heard all these reports, and we know these aren't just reports. These were filmed gleefully by the barbarians who committed these grotesque crimes. They filmed, for example, an elderly woman in her home in one of these towns. They burned her alive in her house because she was too infirm to take out. And, parading women, bleeding from the crotch because they were raped throughout Gaza while people hoot and holler and cheer. So look, when we say, oh, this was an escalation, it was bound to happen, I am sorry. This was a massacre that was pre-planned. This was not destined to happen. It is not normal to shoot teenagers in the back, hundreds of them. So I just think, guys, get the story right. And all these pictures of missiles or the rubble in Gaza, please talk to the Israeli mothers and fathers.
What are we doing right now? So what he's doing is justifying in retaliation the eradication of thousands of innocent citizens or people. That's what he's doing here.
This was not destined to happen. It is not normal to shoot teenagers in the back, hundreds of them. So I just think, like.
But who said it was, though? That surely wasn't said on MSNBC. I surely haven't said that. Who said that? Sounds like a straw man to me. Who have you heard say this?
It's not normal to shoot teenagers in the back, hundreds of them.
Who said that was normal? What? It's like he's retorting against some fictional person that says that's okay. Who said that?
It is not normal to shoot teenagers in the back, hundreds of them. So I just think, like, guys, get this story right.
No, don't do that. Get this story right. Your right ain't my right. So don't come on TV and try to fear. What he's doing is struggle session, trying to put fear in the anchors, these news anchors here, about what's going to happen to them. You remember what happened to, what's his name? Oh, do it. Why? I was late at night. I can't remember everybody's name. He got fired over comments about Israel.
In the back, hundreds of them.
So he says, get the story right. Whoa. If there's something factually wrong, I'm happy to correct it. Other than that, you don't tell me what's right or wrong.
So I just think, like, guys, get this story right.
No, that's not going to work for me. No, that's not going to work for me. You don't tell me what's right or wrong. You never have, never will. And don't use their dead bodies to have that opportunity to do so. Not going to work for me.
All these pictures of, like, missiles or the rubble in Gaza.
Yeah, is it factual or not? He basically acknowledges, yeah, it's factual, but just look at the other side. Yeah, I'm willing to look on the other side. We can look at both sides.
Like, missiles or the rubble in Gaza. Please talk to the Israeli mothers and fathers.
So he's saying the rubble in Gaza because those people aren't worth as much as Israeli people. So there's people that did terrible things in Israel. So what we can do is go and take a flamethrower and just burn it all down, including the innocent people. This is a monster. And it's easy to say you believe in God until you have to deal with something like that. It's easier for me to say, too. My loved ones weren't there. My loved ones weren't killed, raped, and such. I hope, though, in that scenario, that dealing with that grief, that I won't turn into a monster and want to just damn near nuke the place. Everyone.
Who lost their children. Talk to the grandchildren whose grandparents were seized as hostages. And please stop calling this a retaliation. This is a defensive measure against an organization that is committed to one thing: killing Jews, not a peaceful resolution of a conflict, but murdering Jews. And if you're wondering if I'm exaggerating, please, I beg of you, everyone watching and everyone at this network, just watch the footage.
So that was him basically telling people what they had to believe. That's my interpretation of that. He's on there and he's telling them, stop saying this certain story. Why is that? You can have your own opinion. And people might disagree with the people on the populist left. That's perfectly fine. It's usually the populist left that's kind of in here. But in looking at a lot of the statements I've seen, they're not supporting Hamas and really never have. Now, some of them are. Those are kooks. I'm not with them. There's kooks on both sides, though. I was underneath Nico House's post on this. He said, I've seen too many people saying Palestinian civilians in Gaza should just leave if they don't want to be bombed. Do you know what the geography looks like over there? It's one of the most dense places on the planet. There's nowhere to go. This is another example of the pattern of people's arrogant ignorance on the issue. It's an open-air prison. Palestinians are not allowed to leave. So I'm talking about the citizens over there. Where do they go? There's nowhere to go. Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan doesn't want them. Syria doesn't want them. Lebanon doesn't want them. Nico continues and says, why do you think you've never seen Palestinians flooding airports like you've seen Israel do in the last couple of days? Why do you think Israel can so easily cut off food, water, and electricity to the region? Not only is Israel occupying Palestinian territory, that's not opinion I get into, but I'm just reading his. That's so far I agree with everything he said. I'm not even disagreeing with that. I actually just don't care about that one. But they're destroying their homes and their lives, and the Palestinians can't escape even if they wanted to. Because to me, to the victor goes the spoils. If Israel is occupying, even if you think it's Palestinian territory, well, they're the victors. Just like you could call today Indigenous Peoples Day. Okay, where are they at? They got conquered. Whether it was disease or whatever else, otherwise, doesn't matter. They got conquered. This is why we don't only call it an apartheid, but a genocide as well. I don't go that far, but I do, most of what he said there, I agree with. I said everyone saying this couldn't find the Gaza Strip on a map. There's nowhere to go. It's dense population out there. It's silly for them to be saying, we're going to give you 48 hours or however many time to leave. They can't go. They can't go anywhere. It's just to cover themselves. They are extremely poor. And people were telling me, well, Hamas represents them. Well, it's the same story all across the globe. You've got a small percentage of people, really Iran, funding Hamas. Hamas hasn't had elections there since 2006. Why do you think they haven't had elections since 2006 and they won in 2006? If they were going to win elections, they would have elections. They're probably not popular enough to win the election. They probably haven't learned from the U.S. where you just fake it and then you rig it and then give the people the impression they have choice. That's more powerful. You got to get your game up, Hamas. Learn from us. So they don't represent, and they don't. If they don't have elections, I can't say they can represent. And who knows if they had elections, if they would be legit. I don't know. But it's a small percentage of people who are putting the lives of everybody else at risk. You think your common family in Palestine wants Hamas to go start beef to get bombed on? No, they don't want that. All these other countries, as I said, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, they want nothing to do with them. They had nowhere to go. Let's stop playing games. Let's talk real about this. I don't like disingenuous arguments, or if it's an ignorant argument. This came out here, and these are all reasons why I don't like a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger. This was a statement, and I don't know. Let me read it and see if there's anything that I kind of don't like here. I didn't see anything. So this is a joint statement from Palestine solidarity groups at Columbia University. Again, I don't stand with none of them over there. But what I'm unhappy with is this. This is just like Ukraine. So if I say, well, I got problems with Ukraine being corrupt, then you say, well, you're a Putin, you're a Russian supporter. No, that's not the take. So I've got problems with this. And that's what they're doing here. You can go both ways. You can say, I got a problem with Russia, or you're a Ukraine supporter. No, there could be legit problems. So this is at Columbia University. The loss of a human life is a deeply painful and heartbreaking experience for loved ones, regardless of one's affiliation. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the individuals and communities at Columbia University affected by the tragic losses experienced by both Palestinians and Israelis. It's a strong start to me. It seems pretty respectful to me. I agree completely so far. The sting of tears, the weight on our hearts, and the profound sense of loss are universal emotions that connect us all in grief and unify us by experience. As we mourn the loss of lives, let us come together as a Columbia community and fervently advocate for the universal human right to live in peace and seek justice. We also affirm that there can be no future of safety and freedom for all Israelis and Palestinians without holding the Israeli occupation accountable for its actions and putting an end to the untenable status quo of Israelis' apartheid and colonial system. So now the part about the Israelis holding them accountable, that's not, I can't go there with you. I just don't get into it. I'm not going to even really have a take on that. But before that, I agree. And if that is your opinion, you're entitled to your opinion, whether I agree or not. I don't have a problem with that. It says, when we revolt, it's not for a particular culture. We revolt, this is a quote here, simply because for many reasons, we can no longer breathe. It's very similar to the concerns with Black Lives Matter, that kind of stuff. And even when, my thoughts on Black Lives Matter, it's perfectly legit if you want to believe that. You can believe it. We cannot view the recent actions of Palestinian fighters in isolation. Gaza is an open-air prison that lacks the essential necessities of food. Now, that part I can agree with. Gaza, it lacks essential necessities such as food, clean water, medicine. Now, they're not entitled to anything, but that is true from my knowledge of what the conditions are there. And electricity. Palestinians in Gaza have endured 5 brutal wars. Life is savage. Prolonged inhumane siege for 16 years, depriving them of their most basic rights. The United Nations issued a warning in 2012 that Gaza would become unlivable by 2020 due to Israeli siege. Yet here we are in 2023, and the whole world is silent, while Palestinians live in an open-air prison and continue to suffer as a result of the siege and wars applied by a series of fascist, racist, and colonial Israeli governments. So that's their take on that. I agree with the conditions, but life is savage. But that's the same applies both ways. Israel is in that area with what I consider all those countries, all those regions around them. They're really like brothers, cousins. They're all brothers and cousins that have been beefing for centuries. That's what's happening over there. And Israel is at the top. Israel's at the top because they are funded by many other countries, so they have a beast of an army, hell of an army. And you're going to see them probably in force right now. I saw a video with the parking lot of all the people rolling on up to active service, active duty, thousands of cars of Israelis. So they have a beast of an army. They're going to basically take a lawnmower and just mow the lawn over there of humans. But they are the king in an area where everyone's fighting to get on top. I said, if Israel was really about that life, if Israel, and you get the gist of it, the point of me reading that was to say, I don't have any problem with anything they said. They can say that. I don't understand this uproar about it. Like, there's more of it. It's just long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this person said that the statement was worse than the Harvard statement. What's wrong with the statement? I said I don't share their position, but I don't have a problem with the statement. Like, you're acting like it's like a ridiculous statement. We've seen some ridiculous acts and statements. That's not one of them. So I'm looking at the comments here. Two-state solution. This is Melopoly. Two-state solution was never going to happen. People in that region literally hate Jews and want to drive them into the sea. There was never a chance of a compromise. The hatred is too ingrained. And bombing is not going to solve it. I haven't heard anyone reply to me, because I've been out there and I've said, well, do you think bombing, carpet bombing or whatever they're doing, shock and awe, do you think that's going to solve the problem? We know it doesn't solve the problem. If they're doing the same type of thing we did in 9/11, it doesn't solve any problem. Maybe it makes you feel better that there's dead children and innocent citizens. Honestly, that's the take from people. That's Jonathan Greenblatt's take. I just played you his take. Not only is it his take, his take is that you have to have that take. That it feels good, or that it's justified to do it and do that because of the horrors that happened initially. What's the answer? I don't know. I don't have any magic wand. Do you agree or disagree that the bombing's not going to help? And if you're going to be out there in that part of the world, I think there's always going to be beef. Somebody could, hypothetically become the king, like China's replacing America. Someone could replace Israel as the top of the king of the hill over there. Then they're going to be the target. Then everybody else going to be running through doing their little pot shot stuff with them. That's just one of those things. It's part of life. You see in nature, I talk about it a lot. You see the male elk fighting each other. It's usually over a woman, but territory too. People have beef. And that's part of that nation over there. And I'm whatever, just keep me out of it. They ain't got nothing to do with me. Don't come over here in America trying to tell me that I have to stand by or do anything. They never stood by me or anything that I care about. Look it in the chat. I haven't seen anybody post and not one thing that Israel stands for that I care about. Now one. Peace is not easy. And I can't tell Israel how to operate, but I'll take it away from Israel because I'm not knowledgeable enough to know about their relationships and the intricacies out there. Just in general, it's not bombs that are you're not gonna make people kind of appreciate you by gunpoint. It's relationships. Your relationship, I don't know how to fix that, but it's gone sour. There's no trust, just hate. You go out carpet bomb, all you're doing is building a new generation of kids. What do you think the kids that are like 14, 13 right now, they got carpet bombed and saw their friends get burned? Videos are crazy. I don't know if it was with this, but it was a kid. It was purported to be with this thing, got hit in a strike and sheared. Like skin was like seared like chicken. What do you think those kids are going to grow up? They're going to grow up hating Israel. It doesn't help. Benjamin Netanyahu speaks after new round of strikes in Gaza. So here's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said what we all knew was going to happen. No surprise here.
Okay. Let's continue to listen in.
Let's listen. I can keep translating.
לשמור על מדינת ישראל. פעולה רביעית, המשך העצמת התמיכה הבינלאומית, שאותה התחלתי לגייס עם פרוץ המערכה בשבת, כדי לשמר את מרחב הפעולה שלנו נגד אויבינו.
He's talking about trying to get an international community to support Israel, and he's been doing this now for a few days.
לבסס את
The number one priority right now.
הפילוג.
Because with war, the propaganda is so important. You couldn't have the Ukraine war if you didn't have that Ukraine attachment. And what's happening is everyone is rallying, just like Ukraine, to Israel because they want that same. They don't want do we need to do this or do we need to do that? Do we need to send people here? Do we need to move carriers here? They don't want that. So he's like, everyone's got to. If you don't have people rallying around it, it's not going to happen. War is extremely expensive. I saw a story that the U.S., because of Ukraine, they have weapons. They don't have a base we don't have a base in Israel, but we've got weapons there positioned, ready, and stockpiled. But my understanding is allegedly that the U.S. went in the stockpile, obviously Israel would have to have known, and used that weaponry and gave it to Ukraine. So the stockpile is low. And then the stockpile is low in general because of Ukraine. War is so crazy. World War I, World War II, you had to pop up factories to build this stuff. So they don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe you're going to see more jobs pop up. Seriously. I don't know if we have factories here, Raytheon, whoever the contractors are, whoever's making them. I don't know who's making the weapons. But you're going to need to pump these things out. It's expensive. And even if you have the money, you've got to have the supply chain of the supplies, the manufacturing, the conveyor belts, or however they're made, pumping them out, just like any other product. So you need people invested in that.
המשך העצמת התמיכה הבינלאומית, שאותה התחלתי לגייס עם פרוץ המערכה בשבת, כדי לשמר את מרחב הפעולה שלנו נגד אויבינו.
He's talking about trying to get an international community to support Israel, and he's been doing this now for a few days. The number one priority right now is to bring people together. Our inner divisiveness is now over. When we are united, we will win.
אני קורא למנהיגי האופוזיציה להקים מיד ממשלת
He's calling for the opposition leaders to immediately have an emergency unity government without exceptions, similar to what happened in the Six-Day War.
התחלנו, ואני מדגיש, רק התחלנו להכות בחמאס.
He says, we are just starting. Israel, we are just starting. We are starting to beat them.
החמאס בעזה הן רק ההתחלה. חיסלנו מאות רבות של מחבלים.
What we're seeing in Gaza is just the beginning, saying that they have killed hundreds of militants and they will continue.
יהפוך לאיי חורבות. זה כבר קורה היום, וזה יקרה ביתר שאת בהמשך. אני נמצא בקשר רציף עם הנשיא ביידן, ואני מבקש להודות לו שוב,
he's in regular contact with President Biden,
על ההירתמות של ארצות
and
הברית
he would like
במילים
to
ובמעש.
and he is thanking the United States for their
נושאת
support.
מטוסים אמריקנית מהגדולות בעולם, נמצאת בדרכה לאזורנו.
He's talking about the carrier ship now off the shores of Israel, that it's there waiting to support Israel.
של צעד זה. כמו כן אני רוצה להודות למנהיגים רבים בעולם על תמיכתם חסרת התקדים בישראל. אזרחי
He is
ישראל, אני
talking about
חייב
the
גם
support
לומר
that
לכם,
Israel has received from
יש
around the
הרבה
world.
פייק ניוז ותעמולה כוזבת שמתפרסמים
And he's warning now
במטרה
about fake
להפחיד
news
אותנו
and
ולפלג
disinformation that
בינינו.
he says is
כמו
spreading
הפרסום על עשרות
online.
מנהרות.
I'm gonna talk about that. Something not sitting right with me on this one here. This fake news. We'll get to that next.
חסרת התקדים בישראל.
He is talking about the support that Israel has received from around the world. And he's warning now about fake news and disinformation that he says is spreading online.
Okay.
והפרסום הכוזב כאילו המודיעין המצרי העביר אזהרה מוקדמת לישראל לפני פרוץ המלחמה.
And he's saying that it's fake news that Egypt or others had warned Israel ahead of time.
Okay, let's talk about it. Egypt claims, and I don't know what's true or not, but let's talk about it since you brought it up, bro. Egypt intelligence official says Israel ignored repeated warnings of something big. This goes against my take where I said it looked like I started a big thread on this on X. To me, it looked like they were setting up Benjamin Netanyahu with bad intel. So he will take the fall. This goes against that. This is saying, Egypt's saying, we told him directly 10 days before. Who knows what happens? I'm just going to cover it here. Who knows what really happened? I don't know what really happened. But let's get into this a little bit. The Times of Israel has an article that digs into Israel's alleged failure to heed warnings from Egypt about an impending large-scale attack from Hamas. If Benjamin Netanyahu and his surveillance team, the spy team, the Mossad, IDF, whoever they've got there, if they drop the ball, which they obviously did, but if they got notified by Egypt and still dropped the ball, Do you think they would admit it? According to an anonymous Egyptian intelligence official, Egypt had informed Israel multiple times about something big being planned. The official stated, "We have warned them an explosion of the situation is coming, and very soon it would be big," but they underestimated such warnings. The article also highlights that Israeli officials were primarily, this is through ChatGPT, I summarized it, that Israeli officials were primarily focused on the West Bank, dismissing the threats from Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, which comprises supporters of West Bank settlers, has been more concerned with the rising tide of violence in the West Bank over the last 18 months. Netanyahu denied receiving any advance warning, labeling the story as fake news. One of the most damning revelations was that Egypt's intelligence minister, General Abbas Kamel, personally called Netanyahu only 10 days before the massive attack, warning that Gazans were likely to do something unusual, a terrible operation. So it seems legitimate to me. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is allegedly. Finish him. Allegedly, they said that. So I don't know. But it sounds legit to me. So would they lie and say that they called him? Can we verify that? He said it's fake news. Bruh, this isn't some cheating scandal. If you knew 10 days before from Egypt, fake news ain't going to wipe it away. Because what you're saying is there's only two options here. There's only two options. Either Netanyahu was misled by his own intelligence agencies, meaning they would have said, don't listen to Egypt, we got to focus over here. That means they were wrong, or he was misled by them, or he was complicit in ignoring the warnings. Those are the scenarios if that warning happened. In either case, it's a bad outcome. You want to talk about lives been lost? Let's figure out what's going on there. Obviously, it calls for a thorough investigation for them, and it brings America into it with Governor DeSantis shining lights on the governor mansion, white and blue, Paris, white and blue for the Eiffel Tower. But here you got Donald Trump. Every single politician is, I stand with Israel. So this is not a trivial matter. We need to get that cleared up. If somebody said they called you, that should be easily verified, easily debunked. Fake news ain't going to be enough. I'm going to need him to say, no one called me. Let's start from there. Because I have a feeling it's going to be like somebody called me, but they said this. They said 10 days from like a week ago. Oh, so that would, no. Well, I want to hear what happened here. Something doesn't smell right. You can see it in his face. Something didn't smell right. And then now he's doing a shock and awe or whatever type of thing that almost sounds like you're trying to change the topic from what happened here. Something's not sitting well with me on that one. So those are my takes there. The last one is we'll shift back over to the States. Let's go to some good news. Got good news coming out of the Carrie Lake camp. I'm a huge supporter of Carrie Lake. I don't know what it means to stand with somebody, but I will. There's not many people I would say I stand with. I stand with Carrie Lake. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anybody with me? Who's pumped about Carrie Lake running for Senate?
We are a red state. We are a Wild West state. And we demand common sense, not communism. It can go right back across to California. We don't want it.
The future of Arizona's at stake. Now's the time for Carrie Lake. A stronger Arizona she will make. Now's the time for Carrie Lake. Where others bend, she will not break. Now's the time for Carrie Lake. Making start with protecting our border. Senator Carrie Lake will put America first. A stronger Arizona she will make. Now's the time for Carrie Lake. What others bend she will not break. Now's the time for Carrie Lake.
God bless State 48.
Dilly team. So when the Dilly team came out with that Wonder Woman video, they were probably laughing at me because I said, ooh, are they endorsing her for VP? I don't know. I'm just speculating. I think they knew she was going for Senate at that time. I think she had probably dropped them some hints. So they were probably laughing at me like, nah, it's not VP, bruh. It's Senate. I kind of could feel now looking back at it when I was talking about her for VP, the way that they kind of was kind of replying to me. I just have a hunch the meme team had some information. Because remember, Carrie Lake did that video, that interview, great interview with Brendan Dilley. I think they had some information. I think it's safe to say. I'm happy about it, man. This is a great way to end the live. We're going to do probably a whole live on Carrie Lake, man. We're going to relive all the moments. We're going to talk about what she could do in the Senate. I'm not going to do the whole thing now, but she has some of the most Trumpian type moments since 2016 Trump. They came from Carrie Lake. And she's got the energy. She's much younger. And yeah, we're looking forward to the run here. We're going to see what's going to happen. What's going to happen with the Blake Masters thing? I don't know. I would say fall back. Blake Masters. Figure something else out. I don't know. I haven't looked at the map or whatever, like what he could do with his career. I like Blake Masters. I don't like him as much as Carrie Lake, even close. But if he wants to run, go run. I'm all for the MAGA versus MAGA. Let's see he's not really MAGA, but let's see who's more MAGA. Here's how they phrase it. Take a look at this. Carrie Lake wants to be elected to the Senate. She also wants to keep fighting the election she lost. Why wouldn't she want both of those? They act like you can't have both. She's fighting to make sure that the elections have integrity. And then while y'all messing around, she's going to run for Senate as well. She's not going to wait around for the court system to just throw it out or whatever, make some lame excuse, even though she's gotten further than anybody else. What are y'all so scared about? Who's been canceled? Has strained relations with the family, been indicted, sued, for defamation? If your hand did not go up in any of that, then I do think you need to work a little harder. I really do. Carrie Lake. I had that live. I haven't talked to Jen in a minute. Sweet Home California. That was a great live. I liked that live a lot, where I almost want to find the clip now. I'll save it for tomorrow. Where Carrie Lake was like, she was at this rally. And I'm just like, wow, this is what a populist would say. Where she said something to the effect of, what are you willing to sacrifice? If you're concerned, if you want to help this country, you're going to have to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? Your job or what? And everybody in the crowd, it was like everybody in the crowd was like, huh? It wasn't like a standing ovation. It was almost like you could hear the like, whoa, what is she saying? That's what a true populist would sound like. And I don't know. See, the big thing is when you challenge the election that is her election got stolen. When you challenge that stolen election, I think it does. I think it makes it a little bit harder for them to steal the next one. I truly believe that. So part of the benefit of going after that election is, hey, I see what you did. We will take you to the courts if I need to take you to the courts. I don't want to do too much of it, but let me just play a couple other videos. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of, I hope you're a Carrie Lake fan. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of Carrie Lake. Election night, Arizona.
We're hearing about some issues with tabulating votes in Arizona's Maricopa County. I know this has been going viral on social media.
I was just going to call you. How you doing?
Well, they've pissed off an already pissed off woman.
We've had some hiccups. Criminal. I can't believe it.
To understand why they stole this election, we've got to go back to the beginning. We have to speak out right now or we're going to lose our country, we're going to lose our freedoms. And I'm willing to take on those big, tough problems with solutions that will work.
After nearly 30 years in the news business, Fox 10 anchor Carrie Lake has decided to step down.
I realized that there was an agenda being pushed by the media. I didn't want to be part of that agenda.
Carrie Lake has formally entered the governor's race here in Arizona.
I didn't realize how much one courageous act would mean for people.
All eyes have been on this campaign. Who will be our next governor?
Who is ready for a change? I know you're with me and I'm with you. When we win, first line of action is to restore honesty to Arizona elections.
The irregularities at the places where they're trying to vote is really wild.
20% of the voting centers, 60% in Maricopa County, had tabulating machine issues. Ballots are not being read.
They gotta fix this problem. This is incompetency. I hope it's not malice.
This is absolutely normal, and we have tweeted out from Maricopa County.
No. Back up. Back up, right?
Is it a lie of omission or commission? He not only perjured himself, running from the
It's
answer.
going to be a long night.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Carrie Lake is not elected.
Listen, if we hadn't just elected somebody whose main qualification was being on TV, you could see maybe giving it a shot.
The media's here from all over the world.
This is one of the most highly contested races.
I love you, Arizona! The reason this happened is because God wants to wake more people up.
Campaign staff opened an envelope in Carrie Lake's office and it had a suspicious white powder in it.
Carrie made a tremendous impression on millions and millions of people, even beyond Arizona.
This is not a campaign. This is a movement.
Stolen elections have deadly consequences, and we're going to put our foot down and not allow this to continue happening.
Let's go.
Has one Arizonan complained to the Secretary of State's office or anyone else about voter fraud?
We're actually being flooded with calls and emails right now, and I haven't had a chance to look at all of them.
Jesus. I can't believe that. Talk about clown. That's one of the biggest clown, and that's Katie Hobbs. One of the biggest clowns in our clown world right now is Katie Hobbs. But I am out. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to leave out with one of my favorite. I've played this one many times, the Carrie Lake clip. We need to bring him back.
Now, the most important thing is we got to bring him back. No, I'm not talking about who you think, but I do agree with you on that. We've got to bring him back. Right? When we kicked God out, that is when our troubles began. And we got to invite God back into our culture. We've got to invite God back into our homes. And we have got to invite God back into our hearts. Because let me tell you something, God is on our side. And with God's help, we will win this and we will save this republic. Because when you have God on your side and you have America First policies, we are all going to live a better life because of that.